Emma smiled, hugging the swimsuit to her. The morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, casting soft light through the white curtains onto the dining table. Emily Thompson watched her 2-year-old daughter Lily eating cereal in her high chair while brewing coffee with practiced ease. Lily's golden hair sparkled in the morning sun, and the sight of her small hands gripping the spoon as she earnestly tried to bring it to her mouth was truly angelic. "Lily, you're eating so well," Emily said gently, wiping the milk from her daughter's cheek. Lily looked up at her mother and smiled innocently, responding in her simple words, "Mommy, yummy." This peaceful morning scene was the happiest time of Emily's day. Her husband Michael had already left for work, and she was enjoying a quiet moment alone with her daughter. Michael worked as a financial analyst at a major investment firm, and lately he'd been especially busy, often not coming home until late at night. Before marriage, Emily had been an elementary school teacher, but after Lily was born, she chose to become a stay-at-home mother to support the family. Michael's income alone was sufficient for them to live comfortably, and more than anything, she had a strong desire to watch her daughter grow up. The young mothers in the neighborhood sometimes told her, "What a waste," but Emily was satisfied with her choice. In the early afternoon, Emily was taking a walk in the nearby park with Lily. As she watched Lily toddling on the grass, Emily found herself thinking about something that had been bothering her lately. Michael's late returns had been going on for about 3 months now, whereas before they used to eat dinner together as a family of 3. He had explained that a big project is in progress, and things will settle down next month, but that next month kept getting pushed back indefinitely. What worried her even more was that Lily's minor injuries seemed to be increasing. Last week she had a scraped knee, and the week before that there was a light bruise on her forehead. For a 2-year-old, falling down and bumping into things was an everyday occurrence, but it seemed like injuries happened more often on weekends when Michael was home. "I'm probably just overthinking it," Emily told herself. Lily was an active child who had been curiously exploring the house ever since she started walking. Michael could be a bit short-tempered when he was tired, but his love for his daughter was unchanged. In the evening, Michael came home unusually early. He was loosening his tie at the entrance, wearing a tired expression. "Welcome home," Emily greeted her husband and took his briefcase. "You're early today." "Yes, the meeting ended early today," Michael answered briefly and sank into the living room sofa. "Where's Lily?" "She's napping. I'm preparing dinner, so just rest for a bit." Michael nodded, but his expression lacked the gentleness it once had. His shoulders seemed constantly tense, and he didn't appear able to completely relax even at home. At dinner time, the 3 of them sat around the table. Lily sat next to her father, struggling with vegetables while gripping a small fork. Michael continued eating silently, occasionally checking his cell phone. "Work seems tough," Emily said gently. "If there's anything I can help with, just let me know." "I'm fine," Michael answered without looking up. "It's just that the market is unstable and clients are getting nervous. Just need to hang in there a little longer." Just then, Lily dropped her fork, making a loud noise. Michael suddenly looked up and stared sharply at his daughter. "Lily, eat quietly," his voice sounded stricter than usual. Lily was startled by her father's intensity and froze with wide eyes. Emily hurriedly comforted her daughter, saying, "It's okay, Lily," and said quietly to Michael, "You're tired." Michael took a deep breath and tried to soften his expression. "Sorry. I really am tired." That night, after putting Lily to bed, Emily found Michael watching television in the living room. He was staring at the screen but didn't seem to actually be watching anything. "Michael, are you really okay? You seem different lately." Michael turned around and gave his wife a tired smile. "Sorry for worrying you. It's really just work stress." "Emily, I can keep going because you and Lily are here." Emily sat beside her husband's knees and held his hand. "We're always on your side. Don't push yourself too hard." That night, even after getting into bed, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about her husband's changes and her daughter's injuries. The following Tuesday, Emily finished her afternoon shopping earlier than planned and came home. She had quickly gathered what she needed at the neighborhood supermarket and found some strawberries that Lily loved, so she thought she'd come home early to have a snack together. As she parked the car in the driveway, Emily noticed sounds coming from inside the house. It was Michael's voice. He had said that morning he would be working from home today. Emily had thought that the recently increased work-from-home days were good because it meant more time with Lily. However, as she approached the entrance, Michael's voice seemed louder than usual and somewhat irritated. "Lily, how many times do I have to tell you?" Michael's voice came from the living room. Emily quietly opened the front door and put her shopping bags on the floor. She heard Lily's small crying voice, and Emily's heart began to race. "I told you to stay quiet until Mommy comes home." Michael's voice became even stricter. Emily hurried toward the living room. She gasped at the scene she witnessed there. Lily was sitting in the corner of the room, covering her face with both hands and crying. Michael stood in front of his daughter with a clearly irritated expression. "What happened?" Emily rushed to her daughter. "Lily, are you okay?" When Lily saw her mother, she said, "Mommy," and jumped into her arms. Her small body was trembling, and Emily held her daughter close while looking up at Michael. "She was just being a bit noisy, so I told her to be quiet," Michael explained while trying to soften his expression. "You came home early, so I was still in the middle of tidying up." Emily wiped Lily's tears while checking on her daughter's condition. That's when she noticed a new bruise on Lily's left arm. It was small but clearly a fresh purple mark. "How did this happen?"
Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit Stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious.
Emily's voice contained distress. Michael showed a momentarily confused expression. "Oh, that's from this morning when she almost fell down the stairs and I caught her. I might have grabbed her a bit too hard." "Almost fell down the stairs." Emily frowned. "But this morning Lily was with me in the kitchen." "No, it was while you were taking a shower," Michael answered quickly. "Lily headed toward the stairs by herself, so I hurried to stop her." Emily felt something was off. She had indeed taken a shower that morning, but before that she had placed Lily behind the baby gate in the safe play area. There was no way she could have accessed the stairs. "I see," Emily answered briefly and picked up Lily. "Lily, does it hurt?" Her daughter nodded slightly and pointed to her left arm. Emily gently checked that area, but Lily didn't like being touched there. "It's nothing serious," Michael said with some irritation. "Children get hurt easily. You should know that since you used to be a teacher." That afternoon, Michael said he had to go out suddenly and left the house. He explained that an urgent client meeting came up, but Emily didn't remember him mentioning going out on a work-from-home day. Left alone, Emily sat on the sofa with Lily and observed her daughter carefully. "Lily, what did you play with Daddy today?" Emily asked gently. Lily curled up small on her mother's lap and said in a tiny voice, "Daddy got mad." "Why did he get mad?" "Said I was noisy," Lily answered while hugging her doll. "Lily is a bad girl." Emily's heart ached. For 2-year-old Lily to know the words, "bad girl." Lily isn't a bad girl. You're Mommy's precious, good girl. That night, Michael came home after 10 o'clock. Emily had already put Lily to bed and was warming her husband's dinner in the kitchen. "Welcome home. How was the meeting?" Emily asked, trying to act normal. "It was complicated," Michael answered tiredly and loosened his tie. "A new client with many demands. It's unusual to have a meeting on a work-from-home day." Michael paused for a moment. It was decided suddenly. These things happen sometimes. Emily was observing Michael's expression, but she got the impression he was hiding something. His eyes seemed to avoid meeting hers. During dinner, Emily brought up Lily's bruise again. The mark on Lily's arm looks darker than I thought. Maybe I should have the pediatrician look at it tomorrow. That's not necessary, Michael answered immediately. You're being too dramatic. Children's injuries heal quickly. But she's been getting hurt a lot lately, and I'm worried. Emily chose her words carefully. Just to be safe, I think it would be better to have a specialist take a look. Emily, Michael's voice became a bit stern. You worry too much. Lily is a healthy child. There's no need to go to the doctor. This strong opposition made Emily even more suspicious. The usual Michael was someone who would be overly cautious about his daughter's health. Why was he reluctant to go to the doctor this time? The next day, after Michael left for the office, Emily decided to consult with her neighbor Carol. Carol was a kind woman in her 60s who was an experienced mother who had raised 3 children. Michael's been acting strange lately, Emily confided while drinking coffee in Carol's kitchen. And Lily's injuries have been increasing too. Carol looked at the bruise on Lily's arm and frowned. This looks like finger marks. It's different from injuries caused by falling. I thought so too. But Michael explained that it was from when he caught her from almost falling down the stairs. Emily, Carol looked at her with a serious expression. I've seen many families over the years. Sometimes, the people we trust are actually. Carol's words stopped mid-sentence, but Emily understood what she was trying to say. However, it was a possibility she didn't want to consider. But Michael is a good person. He's just tired, Emily said as if convincing herself. Of course, that might be the case, Carol answered gently. But the child's safety comes first. If you're ever worried about anything, please feel free to consult with me. That night, Emily lay awake in bed, continuing to think. As she looked at Michael's sleeping face next to her, she was torn between the doubts swirling inside her and her love for her husband. On Friday afternoon, Emily went to the shopping mall with her friend Sarah. Lily was wearing her recently favorite pink dress and was in a good mood in her stroller. The 2 women enjoyed their long-awaited reunion, leisurely drinking coffee at a cafe while catching up. How's Michael lately? Still busy? Sarah asked. Yes, as always, Emily answered with a smile, but deep in her heart, recent events weighed heavily. But he's trying to make time for family too. Around 4 o'clock, Emily decided to head home. Michael was working from home today too and had said that morning he would have time to spend with Lily. On the way home in the car, Emily was thinking about the affection Michael had been showing toward his daughter lately. True, he could be strict sometimes, but that might be an expression of his feelings as a father trying to educate his daughter. When she parked the car in the driveway, Emily noticed an unusual silence. Normally, at this time, she would hear Lily's laughter or sounds of play. She hurried to the entrance with her bags and noticed the door was slightly open. I'm home, Emily called out as she entered the house. There was no response. When she headed to the living room, what she saw there drained the blood from Emily's face. Lily was lying on the floor, her small chest rising and falling rapidly as she breathed heavily. Her daughter's face was pale, and she clearly seemed to be having difficulty breathing. Lily. Emily rushed to her daughter and picked her up. Lily's body was abnormally hot, and her breathing was shallow and fast. Michael. Where are you? Footsteps echoed from the stairs as Michael came down. He had changed into casual clothes and was holding a towel in his hand. What's wrong? Why are you shouting so loudly? Michael asked calmly. Look at Lily. She's having trouble breathing. Emily shouted while holding her daughter. Call an ambulance. Michael glanced at Lily and shrugged. You're being dramatic. She just fell down. She's probably just tired from crying a little. Fell down. Emily stared at Michael. Look at the way she's breathing. This isn't normal. Emily, Calm down, Michael's voice mixed with irritation. Children fall down often. If you leave her alone, she'll be fine. However, Emily's maternal instincts told her everything. This wasn't just a fall. Lily's breathing, her complexion, everything indicated an emergency. I'm taking her to the hospital, Emily said resolutely. If you don't want to come, I'll go alone. It's not necessary, Michael raised his voice. There's no need to go to the doctor. It's just. That's enough. Emily interrupted her husband's words. She's my daughter. I'll make the decision. Emily quickly got the stroller and put Lily in it, heading for the car. Michael shouted from behind, Emily, come back. You're being too dramatic, but she didn't look back. In the car, Emily headed to the nearest general hospital while checking on Lily's condition. Her daughter's breathing was still shallow, and she occasionally made small moaning sounds. It's okay, Lily. Mommy's here, Emily kept talking to her daughter while driving. We'll be at the hospital soon. The doctor will make you better. When they arrived at the emergency department of St. Mary's General Hospital, Emily hurried to the reception desk carrying Lily. Please. My daughter's breathing is strange. Emily appealed to the nurse at reception. The nurse took one look at Lily and immediately recognized it as an emergency. I'll call a doctor right away. Please come this way. In the treatment room, Dr. Chen quickly examined Lily. She listened with a stethoscope, checked her pupils, and carefully examined her entire body. When did this condition start? Dr. Chen asked. I discovered it when I came home. My husband said she just fell, but Emily's voice was trembling. Respiratory distress from a fall is rare, the doctor answered carefully. We'll need to take X-rays. At that moment, the treatment room door opened and pediatric nurse Jessica Miller entered. She was an excellent nurse known throughout the hospital for her gentle way with children. Jessica, please take care of this patient, Dr. Chen instructed. Jessica tried to smile at Emily, but then the treatment room door opened again. Michael came in, breathing heavily. Emily, where are you? Michael looked around the room and found his wife. I finally found you. This is really too dramatic. At that moment, the color drained from Jessica Miller's face. The medical instrument in her hand fell to the floor with a metallic sound. The nurse's body clearly began to tremble, and she backed away while staring at Michael. Why? Jessica's voice was extremely small and trembling. Why is he here? Emily was confused by Jessica's abnormal reaction. The nurse clearly seemed to know Michael. And the way she knew him seemed to be more than just a professional relationship. Jessica. Emily called to the nurse. Are you okay? However, Jessica couldn't answer. She continued staring at Michael, and her eyes showed a mixture of fear and confusion. Michael was also clearly upset at seeing Jessica. His face turned pale, and his usual confident expression completely disappeared. You are, Michael muttered in a small voice. You have a wife, Jessica's voice became even smaller. You have a child, why didn't you tell me? Emily froze in place. The tense atmosphere flowing between Jessica and Michael, their conversation clearly indicating a personal relationship. All the puzzle pieces began forming a terrible truth. Emily, this is, Michael tried to explain to his wife, but no words came out. Dr. Chen noticed this strange atmosphere and asked, Nurse, are you all right? But Jessica shook her head and hurried out of the treatment room. Emily stared at her husband and began to understand everything. Michael's late returns, his outings on work-from-home days, and his irritation with Lily. Everything was beginning to connect. He was having an affair with another woman. And that stress and guilt had changed him. In the treatment room, only the sound of Lily's small breathing echoed. The oppressive silence in the treatment room was broken by Dr. Chen explaining Lily's examination results. The X-ray results show slight cracks in the ribs, the doctor explained while carefully choosing her words. There are also signs of internal bleeding in the abdomen. These are multiple injuries that cannot be explained by just a fall. Emily tried to process the doctor's words while looking at her daughter. That means your daughter has received some kind of strong external impact, Dr. Chen continued with a serious expression. These types of injuries don't occur from normal falls. Michael leaned against the wall and covered his face with his hands. No, I didn't mean to, his voice was trembling. At that moment, there was a knock on the treatment room door, and head nurse Patricia Hart entered. I received a report from Nurse Miller, Patricia said in a calm voice. Mrs. Thompson, could we speak privately? In another room. Emily hesitated to leave her daughter, but Lily was stable with an oxygen mask. It's okay. Dr. Chen will be with her, Patricia assured her. In a small consultation room, Patricia and Emily sat facing each other. Patricia offered coffee, but Emily's hands were shaking too much to hold the cup. Nurse Miller seems to know your husband, Patricia began gently. She's very upset right now. I don't understand what's happening either, Emily answered honestly. But my husband has been acting strange lately. Please tell me. We have confidentiality obligations, so feel free to speak. Emily talked in detail about recent events. Michael's late returns, Lily's increasing injuries, the contradictions in her husband's explanations, and today's abnormal reaction. While she was speaking, there was a knock on the door. Jessica Miller opened the door with trembling hands and entered. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and she was clearly upset. I'm sorry, Jessica said in a small voice. But there's something I must tell you. Patricia offered her a chair, and Jessica sat down heavily. Michael Thompson and I, Jessica began, searching for words, have been dating for 6 months. Emily gasped. She had understood this intellectually, but hearing it actually spoken made it more real. He said he was single, Jessica continued. That he had no wife or children. Sometimes he was tired from work stress, but I thought that was because of work. 6 months ago, Emily murmured. That coincided with when Michael's behavior began to change. Lately, he's been changing, Jessica's voice became even smaller. Before, he was kind and thoughtful. But for about the past month, he's become easily irritated and sometimes angry. When? Patricia asked. When talking about work, when family topics came up, Jessica answered as if remembering. He supposedly had no family, but for some reason he disliked family conversations. And recently, even toward me. Jessica rolled up her sleeve and showed a small bruise on her arm. Last week, when we had an argument over something trivial. He grabbed my arm hard. Emily looked at that bruise and realized it was the same shape as the one on Lily's arm. Jessica, Emily said in a trembling voice. You're a victim too. Jessica began to cry. If he has a family, then I unknowingly helped destroy a home. And if he did something to your child? This must be reported to the police, Patricia said with a stern expression. There's suspicion of child abuse. At that moment, the consultation room door burst open. Michael was standing there. His expression was filled with anger, and his fists were clenched. What are you talking about? Michael looked around at the 3 women. Jessica, what are you doing? Michael, calm down, Patricia stood up. We are. Shut up, Michael interrupted the head nurse. This is a family matter. Outsiders shouldn't interfere. Emily saw a violent side in her husband that she had never seen before. Violence toward Lily, violence toward Jessica, and now threats directed at them. Michael, Emily stood up and faced her husband. It's over. I know. Everything. What do you know? Michael's voice became dangerously low. That you're having an affair with Jessica. And that you've been violent with Lily, Emily's voice trembled with anger. I can't forgive you for hurting my daughter. Michael stepped forward. You don't understand anything. That child doesn't listen. She's a 2-year-old. Emily shouted. You're sick. At that moment, Michael raised his hand toward Emily. However, Patricia quickly pressed the hospital's emergency button, and security guards came running. Please call the police, Patricia instructed. This is assault in progress. While being restrained by security guards, Michael continued shouting, this is a misunderstanding. It's a family matter. 30 minutes later, the police arrived. Michael was handcuffed and arrested on charges of child abuse and spousal intimidation. Mrs. Thompson, the detective in charge, Detective Johnson from Detroit Police, spoke to Emily. Please tell us in detail about your daughter's medical records and today's events. Emily explained everything with surprising composure. The events of the past several months, Lily's injuries, Michael's changes, and today's discoveries. You'll also need legal support, Detective Johnson explained kindly. I recommend consulting with a domestic violence specialist counselor and about divorce proceedings. Meanwhile, Jessica was also being questioned by another detective. Her testimony became important evidence supporting Michael's violent tendencies. I'm truly sorry, Jessica approached Emily and apologized tearfully. If I had known his true nature. You're a victim too, Emily held Jessica's hand. He deceived both of us. Returning to the treatment room, Lily's condition was stable. Emily held her daughter and whispered, it's okay now. Mommy will protect you. That night, Emily spent time with Lily in the hospital's family accommodation room. Her daughter slept peacefully in her mother's arms. Emily looked at the night view outside the window and thought about the new life that would begin. A terrible truth had been revealed, but at the same time, she and her daughter were free. Free from Michael's violence, from lies, and from a false marriage. 1 year later, Emily was preparing breakfast in the kitchen of her new apartment. The sunlight streaming through the window felt brighter than in their previous home, and Lily's laughter could be heard from the living room. Lily had completely recovered and was growing healthily in her new environment. Mommy, pretty flowers, Lily said, pointing to the daisies on the windowsill as she ran over. When Emily was apartment hunting, what she prioritized most were safety and brightness. This small 2-bedroom apartment wasn't luxurious by any means, but it was filled with warmth and peace. Emily had returned to work as a teacher. She was anxious at first, but the warm support of her colleagues and, above all, her desire to become strong for Lily sustained her. Balancing child rearing and work wasn't easy, but neighbor Carol occasionally looked after Lily, and her workplace colleagues showed understanding. The divorce proceedings had been completed 6 months ago. Michael received a 2-year prison sentence for child abuse and was still serving time. There had been many requests for visits from him, but Emily had declined them all. Following her lawyer's advice, she also didn't allow any visits with Lily. One afternoon, Emily found a letter in her mailbox. The sender was Jessica Miller. Since the incident, the two had been in touch occasionally. The letter described Jessica's recent situation. She had started working at a new hospital in Seattle and was healing her emotional wounds while receiving counseling. I'm truly glad I met you that day, the letter said. Your courage saved both of us. Emily smiled as she finished reading the letter. Her friendship with Jessica was a special bond born from difficult circumstances. Both had been deceived and hurt by the same man, but they supported each other without blaming one another. In the evening, after putting Lily to bed, Emily went out alone onto the balcony. Stars twinkled in the night sky, and the city lights flickered quietly. Looking back on this past year, she had lost much, but what she had gained was even greater. Most important was that she had regained trust in herself. For a long time, Emily had doubted her intuition and taken her husband's words at face value. However, her maternal instincts had guided her down the right path. She had been able to find the courage necessary to protect Lily. Letters from Michael still arrived occasionally. At first they were filled with anger and blame shifting, but recent ones contained words of reflection. However, Emily never wrote back. Forgiveness was something that required time, and now was not yet that time. What is a real family? Emily had found the answer to this question during this past year. Blood relations alone don't make a family. Love and trust, and feelings of protecting each other, these are what create true family bonds. Aunt Carol, workplace colleagues, and Jessica. Around Emily and Lily, a new form of family had been born. Lily's sleeping breath could be heard from the living room. Emily went into the room to check on her daughter's sleeping face. Lily was sleeping peacefully, and there was no longer the tension in her expression that there had been before. According to the doctor, children have surprising resilience, and with proper care in a loving environment, emotional wounds can heal too. "Good night, Lily," Emily gently kissed her daughter's forehead. "Mommy will always protect you." Getting into bed, Emily was thinking about tomorrow's plans. After taking Lily to daycare, she planned to prepare for a spring field trip with the children in her new class. On the weekend, she had promised to have a picnic in the park with Carol. Peaceful days that she couldn't have imagined a year ago. They weren't perfect, but they were a life based on truth without falsehood. Emily fell asleep feeling deep peace. Tomorrow, another new day awaited that she would build together with her daughter. Far away in prison, Michael was reflecting on his actions in his solitary cell. Beginning to understand the magnitude of what he had lost, he continued to think about what true atonement meant. However, that was another story. The shadow of him no longer fell across Emily and Lily's new life. In a quiet residential neighborhood on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, Martha Abrams stepped out of her car with weary footsteps.